Close your eyes, and let your thoughts drift far back, so far that time itself seems to slow, stretching like a long shadow under an ancient sun. It is the Pleistocene epoch, a span of Earth's history that began more than 2.5 million years ago, and it moves with a patience that makes your own heartbeat feel like a sudden storm. The land is wide, open, and still. Grasses ripple like a soft green sea, and the wind carries a scent of rain that has fallen countless times before you were ever here. The ground beneath you is solid, older than imagination, but above it, life stirs gently, almost reluctantly. You are standing, well, perhaps floating, in a moment when the world feels half frozen in time. Ahead, a shape emerges, not in a hurry, not even aware of the concept. It is a sloth, though not the small, sleepy kind you might picture clinging to a tree in a humid jungle. No, this one is a giant. A ground sloth. Its size is startling, even in this dreamy haze, a creature that can rise on its hind legs and tower 2, even 3 times higher than you. And yet, despite this towering bulk, it moves as though wrapped in the comfort of eternity. Its fur is thick and shaggy, the color of dry grasses and tree bark, blending it with the ancient savanna. Its eyes are deep-set and calm, untroubled by anything but the next mouthful of green. Around you, the world holds its breath, not in fear, but in a kind of reverent quiet for the creature's presence. For hundreds of thousands of years, it has lived this way. Eating. Resting. Moving only when it must. The ground sloth steps forward with a sound like someone placing an empty drum on the soil, slow, hollow thuds, spaced far apart. Each step presses into the earth, leaving prints that will harden and last longer than the memory of any living being. Time itself seems to follow the sloth's pace, unspooling in long, unbroken threads. There is no rush here. No urgency. Only an endless horizon and the unhurried heartbeat of the earth. The air carries whispers of distant rivers and the hum of insects that have lived and died through countless seasons. Above, a sky the color of pale bone arches wide, almost endless. Clouds move lazily, as though mimicking the sloth itself, drifting without destination. Every so often, a bird crosses your view, an ancient condor, its wings spread like a curtain across the light, but it too seems to float, unwilling to disturb the balance of this vast and sleepy world. The sloth lowers its head to browse on a cluster of leaves, curling its thick claws gently around a branch and tugging it close. Those claws, curved like scythes, look as if they belong to some fierce predator, yet they are only tools of patience, meant for pulling greenery, not for bloodshed. Its jaws move slowly, rhythmically, as if savoring every fiber of the plant. You can almost hear the sound, a faint grinding that could lull you like waves against a distant shore. You walk, or maybe you simply drift, closer, feeling the quiet mass of the animal. Heat radiates from its fur, a soft and living warmth, like a blanket left in the sun. Its breathing is steady, measured, each exhale rising in a faint mist before vanishing into the air. The creature doesn't startle, doesn't turn away. It exists in a world without fear, without hurry, without the weight of choices that plague restless minds. Its existence is a pure, uncomplicated rhythm, a song played in the slowest tempo imaginable. Around it, other creatures share the plain, some nimble, some immense. In the distance, you can just make out the rounded forms of mastodons grazing like moving boulders, their tusks pale as ivory moonlight. A herd of ancient horses flicks their tails lazily as they crop the grass. Somewhere far off, a low roar echoes, perhaps a saber-tooth, stretching its jaw in the early light, but even that sound feels softened, muffled by the thickness of time. There is no violence in this moment, no urgency in the air. Everything exists as if the world has all the time it needs, and more. The sloth moves again, so slowly that if you blink, you might not notice. It takes a step, another, and then pauses to taste a new branch. This is its life, a cycle of eating, resting, and enduring, season after season, century after century. Even its hunger is patient, never frantic. It knows that the trees will offer their leaves, that the earth will yield its quiet gifts. You wonder how long this creature has walked these plains. How many winters it has endured. How many silent dawns it has watched without ever needing to name them. Its world is vast and mostly empty of haste. There are no ticking clocks here, no voices urging it forward, no shadow of a future pressing down. Only the now, stretched thin and endless like the sky overhead. In this stillness, something begins to settle inside you too. The edges of your thoughts blur. The constant hum of your own busy world grows faint, almost forgotten. Here, among the grasses and the slow giants, there is only calm. The wind strokes the ground like a hand smoothing a sheet. The earth smells of rain and roots, a scent older than memory itself. The ground sloth, this shaggy monument to slowness, moves toward a low stand of trees, its back swaying like the hull of a ship. Each step is a story told in silence, a verse in an endless hymn to patience. And as you follow with your eyes, you feel as though you too are moving at that same ancient pace, your pulse slowing to match the rhythm of a world that has forgotten the meaning of haste. The creature lumbers onward, and now you begin to notice the details that make it what it is, a titan not of speed or ferocity, but of endurance and scale. Its shaggy coat catches the slanting light, strands of fur rippling like slow waves when the breeze stirs. Each hair is thick, coarse, built to weather not just seasons, but millennia of changing skies. Dust clings to it in soft grey whispers, and here and there, you catch glimpses of tiny passengers, fleas, perhaps, or beetles that make their small lives in this moving forest of fur. You step closer, without fear. This giant sloth, Megatherium, if you want to give it its full, solemn name, towers like a living statue. On all fours, its back rises as high as your shoulder, and when it rears up to browse from taller branches, it stretches a staggering 6 meters, nearly 20 feet of slow, breathing mass. Imagine that, something so large, yet so gentle. Its forelimbs are long, nearly as long as your entire body, ending in claws like sickles, each one curved and gleaming faintly in the light. But these claws are not for slashing prey, they are for pulling down boughs, stripping leaves, and anchoring against the earth when the creature leans upright. Its head is small compared to its colossal body, with a blunt snout and nostrils that flare slightly as it samples the air. Its mouth is filled with flat, ridged teeth, perfect for grinding plant matter into pulp. There is no hurry in the movement of those jaws. They turn like millstones, slow and inevitable, and you can almost feel the rhythm vibrate through the stillness around you. And then there is its tail, thick, muscular, like a living pillar. When the sloth rears to feed, that tail presses into the ground like a third leg, forming a tripod of bone and sinew that keeps the giant steady as it leans back to pluck branches high above your head. You watch the great weight shift, hear the faint crunch of soil beneath its stance, and marvel at the balance nature designed for such a deliberate life. This sloth is not alone in its hugeness. You recall that the world of the Pleistocene is crowded with beings of mythic size. The mastodons you glimpsed earlier, their ivory curving like frozen rivers. The glyptodonts, armored mammals like living tanks, grazing low to the ground, and towering near rivers, perhaps even a ground sloth cousin, Erematherium, slightly different in shape but no less immense. Still, Megatherium is a wonder among them, not for its strength or speed, but for its sheer, stubborn patience. It lives in slow harmony with its own body. Its heart beats steadily, its breath unfurls in long, deep sighs. You think of the energy such a creature must carry, how much food it needs to sustain its bulk. Yet there is nothing frantic in its foraging. Each mouthful is a measured gesture. Each chew is a meditation. Even hunger seems muted, as though it too has learned to take its time. The fur shifts as the wind passes through again, and you notice something else. A faint smell, earthy and warm, like sun-baked soil after rain. It is not unpleasant. It belongs to the rhythm of the landscape, part of the same long story. The scent mingles with that of crushed leaves and distant water, and together they create an atmosphere thick with age, as if you are breathing in history itself. You imagine running your hand along that coat, how rough it would feel, each strand like coarse rope, and beneath it the dense muscles rolling gently with every slow step. It is a body built for persistence, not haste, strong enough to topple a tree, yet moving with the serenity of a drifting cloud. If this giant had a voice, you think, it would be deep and unhurried, speaking in tones that vibrate like distant thunder, reminding you that everything in life can wait. Look down now, at the footprints it leaves behind. Each one is a shallow bowl pressed into the earth, wide and blunt-edged, a mark that rain will fill and sun will bake until time erases even these traces. For now, though, they are fresh, damp with the weight that made them. You follow the line of these prints stretching back across the plain and realize they could tell the whole story of its day, every pause, every turn, every patient step measured across a world too vast to hurry through. Somewhere behind you, a bird calls, a low, flute-like sound that melts into the silence as quickly as it came. The sloth does not notice, or if it does not care. Its ears twitch once, and then it resumes its slow work, curling a claw around a branch and pulling it down with a creak. Leaves crackle faintly as they yield, and the sloth draws them in with an almost tender motion. You can see its lips now, folding inward to take the greenery, and the sound of chewing begins again, a whispering grind, steady and eternal. What would it be like, you wonder, to live in such a body? To feel the sun on fur that needs no clothing, to walk without haste because nothing in the world demands it? You imagine the sensation of weight anchoring you to the earth, the pulse of blood moving like a slow river through your limbs. Hunger would not bite sharply, it would hum softly, a background note in a life without deadlines. Sleep would come whenever the shade grew cool enough and the belly full enough, no thought of hours ticking away. The ground sloth pauses now, as though listening to something only it can hear. Perhaps it senses the earth itself shifting, the way roots talk to soil and soil whispers back. Or perhaps it listens to nothing at all, content in the thick, warm silence that drapes this world like a blanket. Its eyes half close, lids sliding down slowly, and for a moment you wonder if it might fall asleep standing there, swaying like a tree in the wind. And if it does, what then? The sky will move on without notice. The grasses will bend and rise again. Time will pour like honey from one day into the next. And the sloth will still be here, its breath rising in quiet clouds, its heart beating the same patient drum, keeping pace with an age that never learned the meaning of hurry. The ground sloth ambles onward, and you begin to sense the rhythm of its days, not in the quick flashes of activity you know from modern life, but in long, drawn-out gestures that stretch like shadows at sunset. This is a life measured in patience, in hours that pour like thick syrup, not the staccato clicks of clocks or the sharp urgency of alarms. Here, nothing runs, even time itself seems to walk, one slow, deliberate step after another. Picture the sloth at dawn, though dawn here is not a sudden brightness, but a slow unrolling of light across the land. The sky fades from deep blue to pale silver as though the stars themselves are reluctant to leave. The giant stirs under a cluster of trees, lifting its head with the weight of centuries, blinking slowly as warmth creeps over the plains. It does not leap into action. Instead, it lingers, shifting slightly to ease its muscles, stretching its limbs in movements so measured they might be mistaken for stillness. Its morning begins with hunger, but even hunger does not rush it. The sloth does not chase its food, the forest offers it freely, branches bending under their green abundance. It wanders toward a tree with steps that fall like distant drumbeats, each one spaced by silence. Sometimes, the creature pauses for no reason but to breathe, to taste the air on its tongue, to let the sense of leaves and water fill its senses. That is enough. There is no urgency, no craving that pushes it forward faster than its body allows. When it eats, it does so in long, meditative cycles. First, the claw stretches upward, hooking gently around a branch. The wood creaks under the weight of its pull, and the leaves tremble before yielding. Then the sloth draws the foliage close, presses it toward its mouth, and begins the slow grind of its teeth. Listen carefully. The sound is soft, almost musical, a low, rhythmic rasp like waves stroking a distant shore. Each chew takes its time, breaking the fibers down with quiet persistence until the mouthful disappears and another follows. Its meals last for hours, sometimes the better part of a day. There is no distinction here between eating and resting. They are part of the same flow, the same gentle tide of existence. If the creature feels weary, it lowers its massive body onto the earth with a sigh you can almost hear, stretching out like a fallen tree. Dust rises faintly around its flanks before settling back, as patient as the beast itself. It may lie there for a long while, eyes half-lidded, watching nothing in particular as insects hum through the warm air and birds drift lazily overhead. Sleep, when it comes, does not announce itself. There are no rituals, no nests or dens to prepare. The sloth simply eases its eyes shut, surrendering to the pull of dreams as naturally as a leaf surrenders to the wind. Hours pass unnoticed. The sun tilts slowly, shadows stretch and then shrink again, and still the creature lies unmoving, its breath rising and falling like the tide of a hidden sea. This is not the restless sleep of a hunted life. It is deep, weighty, and without fear, a trust in the world that few beings can afford today. When the sloth wakes, it does so as gently as it slept. No jolt, no sudden spark of awareness, only a gradual stirring, like roots shifting under soil. It blinks at the fading light, lifts its head, and begins again the simple rituals of its existence, finding leaves, grinding them down, pausing whenever the mood suggests, moving only when it must. In this life, even movement is rare and precious. To take a step is to commit energy, and so the creature saves those steps for when they matter, when the nearest trees are stripped or when the seasons nudge it toward richer ground. And so, when it moves, it does so with care, each step planted firmly, claws curling into the earth as though testing its strength. The sloth knows no paths, no roads, no urgency to arrive. The world itself is its home, every direction as inviting as the next. There is no concept of wasted time here, no thought of what comes next. For the sloth, each moment is a complete world, eating, resting, breathing, existing. It lives without the fever of ambition, without the constant ache of what if. Its slow life is not an accident of nature, but a quiet triumph, an adaptation to a world that rewards endurance over haste. To live slowly is to live surely, and the sloth has mastered this truth better than any hurried creature could dream. Imagine standing in its place, feeling time melt into a warm, golden pool. You would no longer measure life in hours or tasks, but in the softness of leaves between your teeth, the way sunlight feels on your fur, the hush of wind threading through branches. You would not speak of past or future, they would not matter. There is only this breath, this bite, this quiet step forward when the earth calls for it. And so, the day flows on without edges, blending into evening, which in turn dissolves into night. The sloth may sleep again, or it may not. Perhaps it simply stands under the pale light of the moon, eyes half closed, swaying gently as though cradled by the dark. Stars bloom overhead in slow, shimmering clusters, and for a moment, even time seems to hold its breath, as if learning from this creature how to wait without longing, how to exist without haste. The world tilts into another day, and the ground sloth is awake, though awake for a creature like this is not the crisp, sharp thing it is for you. It is a soft stirring, a drift from one quiet state into another, like a boat rocking gently from darkness into dawn. The light is pale, cool at first, slipping across the landscape like water poured from the horizon. A breath of wind carries the green, faint scent of leaves, and for the sloth, that is reason enough to move. You follow, step for step, or thought for thought, as the giant ambles toward a cluster of trees. Their canopies are heavy with foliage, each leaf shaped by eons of patience, drinking sunlight, weaving it into life. To the sloth, they are more than food, they are the slow heartbeat of its world. These trees, these quiet companions, have shared the ages with creatures now lost. Their roots have watched glacier creep and retreat, felt the tremble of mammoth steps, and now, they bend gently under the weight of this shaggy grazer. The sloth lifts one massive claw and hooks it around a branch. There is a pause, a creak, and then the slow pull downward. The motion is unhurried, as though the sloth knows the tree will not resist for long. When the branch bends low enough, the creature gathers it close, presses it to its mouth, and begins the patient ritual of eating. You hear the faint, fibrous snap of leaf stems, the whisper of jaws grinding. It is not a noise that interrupts the quiet, it belongs to the quiet, like the wind threading through distant grass or the soft fall of a seed to the earth. The sloth eats not for pleasure in the way you might think of it, not for bursts of sweetness or spice, but for sustenance, for the deep, even burn of energy that will keep its vast body moving through the months ahead. Still, there is something tender in the way it feeds, as if each leaf is a gift accepted with solemn care. This is a diet built on endurance, coarse greenery, heavy in fiber, light in haste. The leaves hold little of what other creatures might crave, but the sloth has time enough to draw out every hidden drop of nourishment. Hour stretches into hour, and still the feeding continues. The sloth does not rush because there is no need to rush. Its stomach is a quiet engine, working as slowly as its limbs, coaxing life from the stubborn weave of cellulose and stem. Inside, a symphony of microbes hums softly in the shadows, breaking down what the teeth began, turning green into strength. If you could hear that inner world, it would sound like the soft fizz of distant rain, a music as patient as the creature itself. Sometimes, when the nearest branches are stripped bare, the sloth pauses to shift its weight. Its claws sink into the soil, and its tail braces like a pillar as it rises, stretching toward another limb. The motion is deliberate, monumental, like the slow lifting of a cathedral beam. Leaves tremble at its touch. Bark groans faintly under its grip. And then, with the same calm certainty, the sloth settles back, folding the new greenery toward its mouth. The trees themselves seem to tolerate this giant, even welcome it. For the sloth does not destroy. It trims, it grazes, it moves on. The forest has learned to live with such gentle giants, its branches growing stronger for the slow pruning, its seeds carried quietly to new soil when the sloth wanders on. This is not the hunger of chaos, but of harmony, a rhythm older than thought, where every bite, every leaf, is part of a cycle too wide and deep for any single mind to see. As the day warms, light pools in golden shapes across the ground. Shadows stretch like sleepy limbs, and the sloth shifts once more, not from urgency, but from instinct, drawn to shade when the sun grows fierce. It does not retreat far, only far enough to find comfort. And there, in a hush broken only by the hum of insects, the giant resumes its slow feast. The hours fold in on themselves, one after another, until time feels less like a line and more like a circle, endlessly turning, endlessly green. Perhaps, as you watch, you feel something stir inside. A question, soft as a falling leaf. What would it be like to live this way? To let go of clocks and calendars, to let hunger and rest be the only hands that guide the day? Would the world seem larger? Would its colors sharpen, its textures deepen? The sloth offers no answers. It chews. It swallows. It closes its eyes halfway, lulled by the drone of bees and the whisper of grass. And in that silence, perhaps you find your answer anyway. That life, at its gentlest, needs so little. Just a leaf, a patch of shade, and time enough to savor both. Above you, a bird wheels lazily, its shadow sliding across the sloth's fur. The air smells of resin and sun-warmed bark. Somewhere far away, a river murmurs to the stones. And here, under the green weight of ancient trees, a giant eats in peace, as it has done for ages, as it will do until time itself decides otherwise. The sun drifts lower in the sky now, pouring its honey-colored light across the ancient plains. The ground sloth, full from its long, leafy meal, moves away from the trees. Its steps are slow, yet steady, like the slow tolling of a distant bell. This is not migration, only a quiet search for comfort. Even a giant that fears little must find its refuge when the shadows lengthen. You follow as it meanders toward a rise of rocky ground. Here, the earth breaks into a low hill, scarred by shallow caves that open like dark, drowsy eyes. Their mouths gape wide, fringed with roots and moss, and within them lingers the cool breath of stone. The sloth pauses at the threshold of one such cave, sniffing at the air. It senses safety here, not because it needs to hide, for what could truly threaten such a titan, but because instinct whispers that shade and shelter mean rest, and rest is the soul of this creature's life. The giant stoops, its great back curving as it eases forward into the cave's mouth. Pebbles scatter under its weight with soft clinks, rolling into the shadows. Inside, the air grows still and damp, thick with the smell of earth that has not seen the sun in 1,000 years. You step inside, too, or drift, as though your mind follows where your feet never truly touch, and feel the weight of quiet pressed gently against you. This is a different kind of silence than the open plains. Outside, the hush was vast and airy, carried on the wind. Here, it is dense, deep as water. It fills the hollows in the stone walls and seeps into every pause between the sloth's breaths. Those breaths come slow and steady, echoing faintly against the rock, soft waves breaking on a hidden shore. The sloth lowers itself now, folding its legs beneath that mountainous frame with a patience that feels almost reverent. When at last its chest meets the cave floor, dust sighs upward in a pale cloud, drifting in lazy swells before settling again. The creature settles too, as if the earth is reclaiming its own. Its massive tail stretches behind like a fallen trunk, claws curling slightly against the soil. Here, in the hush of stone and shadow, the giant rests. It does not curl in on itself like smaller animals do. It does not tremble or twitch at imagined dangers. It simply becomes still, filling the space with its warm, breathing bulk. Perhaps its eyes close, or perhaps they remain half-lidded, heavy with that peculiar calm that only creatures of great size seem to possess, the calm of knowing that nothing rushes them, nothing rules them but the slow turning of the world. The cave offers more than coolness, it offers continuity. 4 generations beyond counting, these shelters have held giants like this one. Their bones lie deeper in the rock, hidden like secrets under layers of time. If you pressed your hand to the wall, you might feel the faint tremor of ages moving past, the weight of mammoths brushing the earth, the long grind of glacier overhead, the footfalls of hunters yet to come. All of it stored here, in stone that has seen everything and spoken nothing. Outside, dusk gathers in soft folds, wrapping the plains in violet and gold. The wind quiets, and the world takes on that fragile stillness that comes when day exhales into night. Insects trade the bright hum of morning for the low murmur of evening. A bird calls once, twice, then falls silent. Shadows pool like ink in the grasslands, and the first shy stars prick the sky, pale as pinholes in a darkening cloth. Inside the cave, the sloth drifts towards sleep, not in a rush, never in a rush, but in slow spirals, like a leaf circling downward through still air. Its breath deepens. Its great chest rises and falls in the rhythm of tides that will never touch this place. If it dreams, those dreams are long and green, endless forests, endless summers, a feast without end. You linger, listening. The sound of its breathing is almost hypnotic. You match it without meaning to, your own lungs filling and emptying in time with this living monument. And in that shared rhythm, the world outside seems to dissolve. The stars, the grass, even the wind. There is only this cavern, this warm weight of fur and bone, this patient heart thrumming in the dark. Perhaps, for a moment, you wonder how many nights like this the earth has seen. How many slow giants have settled into caves, drowsing through the long hush of evening, while the sky turned above them like a wheel of fire and frost. Countless nights. Countless sloths. And in each, the same quiet truth, that life, in its deepest form, asks so little. A hollow of stone. A mouthful of leaves. Time enough to rest. Outside, the stars burn brighter now, hard points in a velvet sea. The moon, pale and round, lifts its face over the horizon, casting silver across the plains. It touches the cave's lip, painting the stone in a glow like soft water. But inside, the shadows hold. The giant sleeps on, unmoved by moon or star, breathing its slow benediction into the dark. And as you watch, your own thoughts grow heavy, sinking down like roots, anchoring you in the cool, eternal quiet of this place. The giant sleeps still, deep in its stone cradle, while outside, the world breathes under a sky dusted with stars. But the Pleistocene is not empty. It is alive with creatures vast and strange, each moving through its own quiet script across these sprawling plains. As you drift beyond the cave, drawn by curiosity as gentle as the wind, you begin to see them, shapes stirring in the violet dark, forms older than dreams. There, in the dim wash of moonlight, a herd of mammoths shuffles like a procession of shadows. Their silhouettes rise like hills against the starlit horizon, their tusks gleaming faintly like crescents of carved bone. They move with the same solemn slowness as the sloth, each step a drumbeat on the earth. You watch as their trunks curl and sway, brushing the ground, lifting clumps of grass to mouths lined with grinding teeth. Their breath clouds in the chill night, ghostly plumes that linger, then melt away. These are not beasts of rage or frenzy, they are monarchs of patience, carrying entire seasons in their shaggy hides, their minds tuned to the long rhythms of migration and ice. Further on, the land quivers with another presence, a low ripple that seems almost like water until you see the glint of armored backs. Glyptodonts, massive and domed, as if the earth itself had decided to rise and walk. Their shells shimmer like stone in the moonlight, and their tails, ringed and spiked, drag furrows in the soil. They graze close to the ground, their heads swinging in slow arcs as they strip the grasses. You imagine the weight of them, the feel of that ancient armor beneath your hand, cool and ridged, bearing scars from encounters long past. They are quiet, implacable things, part of the earth as much as the rocks and roots themselves. Near a stand of stunted trees, you catch a flicker of motion, sharper, swifter. A saber-toothed cat, its body a whisper of muscle and sinew, glides through the tall grass. Its fangs catch a thread of light, white as moonfire, curving down like ivory scythes. It pauses, head low, eyes burning with a hunger that never learned the language of patience. For this predator, life is a series of quick, merciless moments. Yet even it seems subdued by the night, padding with a sound no louder than a breath, a ghost of gold and shadow. Somewhere in the darkness, something stirs, a deer-like shape, perhaps, and the cat melts away, drawn by that ancient hunger. But the silence that follows is not broken, it only deepens, folding around the space where it vanished. Listen closer. The air hums with the wings of giant birds, their feathers rustling like dry leaves as they settle into the branches above. Some are vultures, sentinels of the high sky, their heads bare and pale, their eyes sharp as obsidian beads. Others are terror birds, flightless and proud, their talons gleaming, their beaks curved like knives. They do not sleep yet, they watch, their gazes cutting through the dark like twin flames, waiting for the world to give them its softest flesh. Even the rivers have their keepers, hulking forms that slide under the surface, silent as shadows. Crocodilians, armored in scales that glint like wet stone, lurk among the reeds, their eyes floating like cold lanterns. They belong to an age older still, a lineage that has outlived empires of beasts. They will wait there for hours, for days, if need be, their patience colder than time itself. And so the night holds its congress of giants and ghosts, each tethered to its place in this great wheel of life. You feel the vastness of it, a world neither cruel nor kind, only endless and indifferent, its laws written in frost and bone. The sloth you left behind is not alone, though it does not know these neighbors, nor fear them much. Its bulk is shield enough against all but the most desperate jaws, and even then, its size, its claws, its sheer mass make it a meal no predator seeks lightly. Still, there is balance in this world, a slow equilibrium, where every hunger, every breath finds its counterweight. The mammoths graze, the grasses grow. The saber-tooth hunts, the herds endure. The sloth eats leaves, the trees renew. Nothing here hurries, not even death. It comes when it must, walking on quiet feet, taking without haste, leaving bones to bleach in the sun until time folds them back into the earth. Above, the stars will on, unblinking. You tilt your gaze upward and feel their ancient light soak into you, cool and thin as water from a glacier's heart. These are the same stars the sloth sees when it stirs in its cave, the same stars mirrored in the eyes of the mammoth and the saber-tooth, the same stars that will burn long after these titans have walked their last mile. They care nothing for the struggles below, yet they bear silent witness to every slow miracle unfolding on this shadowed plain. And as you stand there, surrounded by this menagerie of time, you feel something loosen within you. A knot you did not know you carried begins to uncoil, like rope sliding free from a weathered post. Perhaps it is the slowness of these creatures seeping into your bones, the weight of their patience pressing gently against the frantic pulse of your thoughts. Here, under this ancient sky, with the ground sloth dreaming in its cave and the mammoths breathing fog into the night, you sense a truth too vast for words, that life is not a race, but a tide, rising and falling, carrying all things in its wide, indifferent arms. The breeze shifts, carrying the musk of earth and fir, the resin of trees, the faint metallic tang of water. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you could almost believe you belong to this world, that your heartbeat has slowed enough to match its tempo. And in that stillness, you begin to wonder what dawn will bring, when the giant wakes, when the mammoths move on, when the first birds spill their song across the blue. But there is no need to hurry that thought. Let it come as slowly as the morning, and rest here, in the long hush of this primeval night. Dawn unfolds like a slow breath, spilling pale light across the land. The stars retreat, one by one, until only the paling moon lingers, fading like a memory. The ground sloth stirs in its cave, shifting its weight with the ponderous grace of stone leaning under centuries of wind. Its vast limbs flex, muscles rippling beneath the thick curtain of fur, and it rises, shaking dust from its coat in a soft, slow cloud. Another day begins, not as a march, not as a leap, but as a gentle drift into motion. But not every story of these giants is written on land. No, the sloth's tail bends toward water, toward the blue distances that lap against the world's edges. Oceans do not rush, like the sloth, they move in tides, in rhythms too vast for haste. And so, perhaps it was only natural that some sloths, in their age-old wandering, answered that deep and ancient call. Imagine the coastline of another age, not a bustling shore filled with voices and sails, but a raw, untamed boundary where land dissolves into endless salt and foam. Here, mangroves knot their roots in dark tangles. Palms lean lazily over brackish lagoons. The air is thick with salt and the cries of birds wheeling in broad arcs above the surf. Waves roll in slow, deliberate ranks, shouldering sand into bars and whispering their eternal lullaby against the shore. It is here you see a shape moving among the shallows, not sleek, not swift, but steady. A giant ground sloth, its fur darkened by water, its massive limbs dragging ripples across the tidal flats. Its claws, so long a tool for pulling down branches, now press into wet sand with the strength of anchors. Behind it, a trough deepens where its weight has passed, and beyond, the sea stirs in patient invitation. The sloth does not hesitate, not because it knows what lies ahead, but because hesitation has no meaning in its mind. There is only movement, and the slow answer to instinct's pull. Step by step, it wades deeper, the water sliding up its flanks, streaming from its fur in silver threads. Soon, the tide lifts part of its bulk, and the earth releases its hold. You might expect awkwardness, panic, but no. The giant floats, vast and calm, as though the ocean were an old companion, cradling it in cool arms. You watch as it drifts forward, using its limbs in sweeping strokes, each motion unhurried yet strong. Beneath the surface, its claws fan like slow oars, cutting arcs through the green gloom. Sunlight pours into the water in pale shafts, dappling its fur with coins of fire. Bubbles trail upward from its muzzle, bursting like tiny bells in the hush. It does not fight the tide, it rides it, letting the sea's long pulse guide its way. 4 hours, perhaps longer, the sloth swims. Its lungs are deep wells of air, and its heart, built for patience, beats in time with the waves. Around it, fish flicker like molten shards, startled but harmless. A ray glides beneath, a shadow with wings, and far off, the pale shapes of manatees graze in the quiet meadows of seagrass. They are cousins of a kind, gentle, slow, lovers of green. Perhaps the sloth feels some dim kinship, though no thought stirs in its vast, drowsy mind. Why does it cross these waters? Perhaps to reach an island glimmering on the horizon, a dark smudge against the silver line of sky. There, new forests wait, rich in leaves untouched by teeth. Or perhaps it seeks nothing but the rhythm itself, the rocking cradle of waves, the weightless calm of drifting between two worlds. You cannot know. But you watch, and as you do, you feel your own pulse slacken, your own thoughts loosen like knots underwater. Hours blur into a single, seamless moment, until at last the sloth's claws scrape sand again. It lumbers from the surf in a slow cascade of droplets, water streaming from its fur in rivulets that carve tiny rivers in the beach. The tide hisses around its ankles, as if reluctant to release this wandering giant, but the sloth does not look back. It moves toward the tree line, toward the green hush that calls it home. Behind it, the waves close their silver mouths, swallowing its path without trace. And so the oceans kept their quiet pact with these creatures, bearing them to distant shores, stitching islands to continents with slow, living threads. Even now, in the bones buried deep beneath coral sands, you can find the proof, fossils of sloths that swam, their story sealed in stone and salt. They remind you that life does not always hurry to conquer new worlds. Sometimes it drifts there, gently, on the tide. Stand now on that empty beach, where the sky burns soft with dusk and the waves fold themselves in whispers at your feet. Feel the wind brush your skin with salt and silence. Above, the first stars tremble into being, their light gliding over the dark shoulders of the sea. And in that vastness, ocean, sky, and time braided into one endless strand, you understand the sloth's truth, that there are journeys worth taking slowly, so slowly that the world seems to pause and breathe with you. The beach fades, the sea dissolves, and now the land stretches vast again beneath your feet, endless plains under a sky that feels sharpened by cold. The air is different here, thinner, cleaner, laced with the metallic tang of frost. You sense the weight of winter pressing at the edges of the world, the slow march of ice from the far horizons. It comes not as a sudden conqueror, but as a patient tide, creeping mile by mile, year by year, folding the land under white silence. This is the Pleistocene at its sternest, an age ruled not by speed but by scale, where seasons sprawl into centuries and storms write their names across continents. The ground sloth walks here, as it has for ages, its shaggy coat now crusted with rime where breath freezes on the long strands of fur. Each step presses into snow that yields with a muffled sigh, and behind it trails a path like a scar across the pale expanse. Yet even here, among the iron teeth of winter, the sloth does not hurry. It knows no word for haste. Its life is built on endurance, on a faith as old as stone, that the cold will pass, that green will return, that time is vast enough for all things. And so it moves, slow as ever, its breath unfurling in plumes that catch the thin light like smoke from an unseen fire. Around you, the world is hushed beneath a lid of grey. Trees stand gaunt, their limbs etched in frost like veins in glass. Rivers crawl under sheets of ice, muttering faintly in their hidden throats. The sky is a wide vault of lead, where sun and moon wear the same pale mask. No birds sing. No insects hum. Only the wind speaks, a low, ceaseless whisper that threads through the grass frozen flat to the ground. The sloth lowers its head to forage, sweeping away crusted snow with its claws. Beneath the icy skin, it finds what life remains. Bitter twigs, lichen clinging like ghosts to the stones, scraps of bark tough as leather. This is not the feast of summer. It is lean fare, slow to chew, harsh to swallow. Yet the sloth eats without complaint, without hurry. Hunger is not a sharp knife to this creature. It is a long, dull drum, beating softly, patiently. It knows how to outwait the cold. It carries warmth in its mass, in the slow furnace of its blood, in the deep quiet of its heart that ticks like a pendulum in the dark. Far off, the ice crouches at the world's edge, a white leviathan grinding its way south. You can almost hear its voice, the low groan of glacier as they drag their bellies across the earth, carving valleys, scouring stone. Their progress is glacial in the truest sense, so slow that mountains might rise and fall while they creep their endless miles. But still they come, and still the sloth persists, a warm pulse moving through the frozen veins of time. And here, too, life goes on in forms vast and strange. A mammoth herd trundles across the horizon, their woolly hides dusted with snow, tusks gleaming like pale arcs of moonlight. They pause to rake the frost with their curved blades, uncovering the withered grass beneath. Far beyond, a saber-tooth pads along a frozen river, its breath smoking from jaws armed with knives of ice. Even the sky seems to hold its breath, as though watching this theater of endurance, where survival is not a sprint but a slow, grinding waltz. You follow the sloth as it moves toward a stand of stunted trees, their black bones etched against the white. There, it rears, bracing its tail like a column, and hooks a branch down with the solemn grace of a bell tolling the hour. The wood creaks, snow spills in soft cascades, and then the sloth bends its head, stripping bark with jaws that grind like distant millstones. There is no sound but this and the long hush of the wind. And as you watch, you feel time stretch, longer than any winter you have ever known, longer than the span of all your numbered years. Here, seasons do not flicker past like pages in a book. They turn like continents, like planets swinging in their orbits, and the creatures of this age move in step with that colossal tempo. You feel it in your bones, in your breath. You slow, as the sloth slows, until even your thoughts drift like snow, soft and heavy, settling into silence. The cold deepens, and the sky dims to iron. Somewhere in the distance, the glacier whispers again, a low, endless murmur, like the sound of time itself grinding forward. But the sloth does not heed it. It feeds. It rests. It endures. And in that quiet defiance, you sense a truth, that survival is not the triumph of the swift, but the patience of those who move when all else waits. Above, night blossoms in shards of frost, and the first stars glimmer faintly through the steel-gray veil. Their light is cold, but eternal, and it falls on fur and ice alike, binding them in a silver thread of time that loops backward into ages lost and forward into ages yet to come. And you stand within it, breathing the frozen air, listening to the heartbeat of a world that refuses to hurry, even when the ice closes in. The cold wind sighs past the frozen plains, carrying with it the weight of endless winters and the faint murmur of life stubborn enough to persist. Here in the Pleistocene, the ground sloth moves like a great shadow, vast and steady, a slow rhythm amid the fleeting flash of seasons. You watch it rise and fall, a slow tide of flesh and fur, its breath swirling in frosty clouds. This world demands endurance, patience, and quiet strength. The sloth has them in abundance. Its body is a fortress against hunger and chill, its metabolism tuned to extract life from the leanest leaves and the harshest bark. It moves with economy, conserving energy as it follows the slow drift of food and season. Each step is deliberate, each moment stretched wide enough to cradle a century. Yet survival is no guarantee. Predators lurk, silent, swift, and relentless. Saber-toothed cats prowl the twilight edges of the forest, their jaws poised like scythes, their muscles coiled like springs. Though the sloth's size deters many, it is not invincible. A sharp claw, a well-placed bite, could end its journey. But the sloth does not flee. It relies on its size, its patience, and its strength. It stands tall, rearing on powerful hind legs, wielding claws like scythes to defend itself if needed. In this slow dance between hunter and prey, neither moves quickly. It is a dance of endurance and timing, where patience is a weapon as sharp as any tooth. The sloth's strategy is to outlast, to survive not through speed but through a quiet, unyielding presence. Its bulk is both shield and statement, a testament to a life lived deliberately, without haste. Food remains scarce as winter tightens its grip, but the sloth's internal furnace burns low and steady, fueled by the tough fibers of its diet and the deep reserves stored in its massive frame. It chews slowly, steadily, digesting with the help of microbes that work tirelessly in its gut. This slow process releases energy over hours, even days, matching the rhythm of its movements. Other animals adapt in their own ways. Mammoths grow thick coats of wool, their breath steaming in the cold air. Glyptodonts retreat to sheltered valleys, their armor thick enough to withstand frostbite. Even the birds, like the vultures and terror birds, find refuge in rock outcroppings or tree hollows, waiting out the harshest days. Life here is a lesson in patience. The sloth does not rush to live or to die. It moves in time with the seasons, with the slow changes of the world around it. It waits through storms and thaws, through hunger and feast, carrying its steady heart beneath its shaggy coat. Imagine yourself in its place, a great, slow giant in a vast white wilderness, where each breath is a small victory against the cold, each step a testament to endurance. You would learn to measure time not by minutes or hours, but by the soft pulse of the earth beneath your feet, the silent fall of snow, the slow arc of the sun across the pale sky. And perhaps, as the stars will overhead and the glacier's distant murmur continues, you would find peace in the sloth's slow dance, an ancient rhythm that whispers of survival not in the haste of the hunted, but in the quiet strength of those who wait. As the ages pass, the slow rhythm of the ground sloth's life weaves itself into the fabric of the world, an unhurried thread in the vast tapestry of time. Its footprints, deep and steady, mark the earth in patterns that tell a story of endurance and quiet presence. Though the sloth itself may seem to vanish like mist, its legacy lingers, echoing in the landscapes and creatures that follow. You walk now through forests grown thick on ancient soil, where the echoes of giants ripple through the leaves. Trees bear scars from claws that pulled at branches, bark worn smooth by slow, patient feeding. The soil is richer, stirred and fertilized by the passage of massive bodies. Seeds carried by these creatures took root in distant places, spreading life in slow, deliberate ways. The ground sloth was not just a consumer, it was a gardener of the ancient world, shaping ecosystems in ways few realize. Its bones lie buried beneath layers of earth and time, relics of a world now lost. Paleontologists uncover these fragments and piece together the story of a creature that moved slowly but shaped the earth swiftly, in a geological sense. The sloth's impact on its environment was profound, a silent architect of balance and renewal. Yet its disappearance leaves a hollow in the web of life, a reminder of fragility even in strength. The ground sloth's slow, deliberate existence could not outpace the changes wrought by shifting climates and new arrivals. Human hunters, swift and clever, entered the scene, bringing with them a new kind of urgency, a force that disrupted the steady pulse of ancient rhythms. Still, in the whispers of the wind through modern forests, in the patterns of seeds and soil, the ghost of the giant lingers. Its slow dance with time is a lesson, one of patience, endurance, and the quiet power of living deliberately. In a world often racing forward, the sloth's legacy invites you to pause, to breathe, and to consider the beauty in moving slowly through life. And so, as you close your eyes tonight, imagine the giant once more, its vast form silhouetted against a sky stretched wide with stars. Feel the deep calm of its breath, the steady weight of its steps, the slow turning of the earth beneath its feet. Let its quiet strength settle in your mind like a gentle tide, carrying you into rest. As the earth turns slowly, the stage of this ancient world shifts once more, and a new actor appears in the quiet drama of the ground sloth's life, humans. Not the bustling, hurried crowds you know today, but the first people, curious, cautious, learning to move through the wild with sharp eyes and steady hands. These early humans did not rush. They watched. They learned the rhythms of the land, the movements of beasts, the subtle signs of change in wind and sky. Their arrival was like a whisper, soft at first, carried on the breath of dawn. They carried tools made from stone and bone, simple yet effective, and with these tools, they began to shape the world around them. For the ground sloth, this new presence was a slow-growing shadow. It moved cautiously, wary of these creatures who could track silently and strike with precision. Yet the sloth's bulk was formidable, its claws capable of fierce defense. It did not flee but stood its ground, trusting in its size and patience to weather this unfamiliar challenge. The humans, in turn, learned to respect the giant's strength. They observed its habits, followed its paths, and sometimes succeeded in the dangerous art of hunting. But this was no quick conquest. It was a drawn-out encounter, a slow clash between endurance and cunning, between the vast weight of the sloth and the cleverness of man. You can imagine the tension in these encounters, the stillness before the strike, the careful calculation, the breath held tight in the chill air. Neither side hurried, each moving with the caution born of survival. The sloth was a mountain in fur, the humans' shadows flitting at its edges, each aware that time was on the giant's side, but change was coming nonetheless. Over centuries, the landscape transformed. Fires lit by humans cleared forests, new paths opened, and the balance shifted. The slow dance of the ground sloth met the quickening pulse of human activity, and the world grew smaller for the giants who once roamed without fear. Yet even as their numbers dwindled, the ground sloths left a mark on the story of humanity. They became part of myths, of stories told around fires under starry skies, tales of great beasts, slow and steady, who once walked the earth with a quiet majesty no longer seen. As you picture this unfolding scene, feel the weight of history pressing gently against your mind. The meeting of these two worlds, one slow and vast, the other sharp and swift, is a reminder that time holds many rhythms, some gentle and enduring, others sudden and transformative. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let the memory of this ancient encounter settle within you. The slow steps of the ground sloth, the careful movements of early humans, woven together in a dance of survival and change, echoing softly through the corridors of time. Beneath the soil, beyond the reach of sunlight and time's immediate touch, the story of the ground sloth endures. Fossils lie buried deep in layers of sediment, silent witnesses to a world long past. They tell tales not just of the creature itself, but of the environments it shaped and was shaped by, a dialogue written in bone and stone. Imagine yourself as a paleontologist centuries from now, uncovering a massive claw or a segment of vertebra. The careful dusting away of earth reveals shapes curved and rugged, fossils thick as the trunks of ancient trees. These relics hold clues, fragments of a slow, deliberate life that once moved like a mountain across the forests and plains. Each fossil is a portal, connecting past and present. They speak of the sloth's slow metabolism, its adaptation to diverse climates, its quiet battles for survival. By piecing together these fragments, scientists reconstruct the sloth's form, its movement, its place in the great web of life. But beyond that, they glimpse the echoes of a vanished world, the plants that grew, the predators that stalked, the shifting ice that shaped the land. These bones are more than mere remnants. They are stories waiting to be told, whispers from beneath the earth that bridge millennia. Their weight reminds you of the vast scale of time, how fleeting each moment is within the endless march of ages. The ground sloth's legacy, buried but not forgotten, reminds us that even the slowest lives leave marks impossible to erase. As you trace the contours of these ancient bones in your mind, feel the pulse of history beneath your fingertips, the rhythm of slow footsteps that once pressed deep into soft earth, the breath of a giant carried on long-forgotten winds. And beneath the surface, the earth holds onto these stories, guarding them patiently, waiting for those who listen to understand the quiet majesty of a creature that took its sweet time. Time flows onward, indifferent and vast, and with it, the world changes. Forests once thick with giants give way to grasslands. Ice retreats, rivers carve new paths, and climates shift like slow, measured breaths. The landscape that cradled the ground sloth's life alters, sometimes gently, sometimes with force, and with these changes, the creatures must adapt or fade. The ground sloth's era draws to a close as new pressures arise, changing vegetation, shrinking habitats, and the growing presence of humans whose numbers and technology transform the environment in ways the giants cannot predict. The forests become patchy, the grasslands expand, and what was once abundant begins to dwindle. You can almost feel the pulse of the earth quicken in response. Species that once moved with slow certainty find their routines disrupted. The ground sloth's slow pace, its careful rhythm, becomes less an advantage and more a challenge. Survival demands new strategies, speed, stealth, and adaptability. Yet, the sloth's slow, deliberate life leaves a legacy etched deep into the soil and stone. Nutrient cycles once fueled by their feeding patterns alter. Seed dispersal changes. The balance of ecosystems shifts, shaped by the presence, and eventual absence, of these gentle giants. In this transformed world, new animals rise. Smaller, faster, more adaptable. The march of evolution continues, relentless, reshaping life's mosaic with each generation. As you imagine these changes unfolding, feel the bittersweet weight of endings and beginnings intertwined, a slow goodbye whispered across millennia, and the first faint notes of new stories waiting to be told. Though the ground sloths have vanished from the earth, their memory lingers in the places they once roamed. They live on in fossil beds, in cave paintings created by early humans, and in the myths and legends passed down through generations. These stories speak of creatures enormous and slow-moving, beings that walked the land with gentle strength and calm majesty. You might imagine sitting by a fire long ago, hearing a storyteller recount tales of giant beasts that shaped the world with their slow steps. The crackle of flames, the hush of night, the wonder in the voices, all weaving a tapestry of remembrance that keeps the ground sloths alive in the human heart. These memories, though fragmented and softened by time, carry an important truth, that greatness is not always loud or fast. Sometimes, it is quiet and steady, marked by endurance and patience. The ground sloth's life was a testament to this, a giant who moved at its own pace, unhurried by the rush of time, who lived fully in each slow moment. Today, as you reflect on this, you might feel a gentle invitation to slow down yourself. To appreciate the steady, quiet rhythms of your own life. To find strength not in speed, but in patience, not in hurry, but in presence. So as your eyes grow heavy and the world fades softly around you, carry with you the spirit of the ground sloth, its slow grace, its enduring calm, its sweet, unhurried time. As night deepens and the world quiets to a soft murmur, the ground sloth story comes to its gentle close, not with a rush, but with a slow exhale, a fading echo carried on the wind. Though these giants no longer roam the earth, their presence remains etched in the very bones of the land and in the pulse of life that continues beneath the sun. You imagine the last ground sloths, moving through fading forests and changing climates, their massive forms silhouetted against shrinking horizons. They carry with them the wisdom of slow time, the knowledge that life is measured not by haste, but by the quiet endurance of each breath, each step, each moment lived fully. And as their slow footsteps grow faint, you feel the weight of their legacy settle softly around you. The world has moved on, faster now, more restless, but beneath the hurry, the heartbeat of the slow giant still pulses, a reminder to breathe, to pause, to embrace the sweet unfolding of time. So as your own eyes grow heavy, let the sloth's slow rhythm lull you into rest. Let the vastness of their patience wrap around your thoughts like a warm cloak. And know that in the endless turning of days and nights, the slow and steady will always have their place. Sleep now, wrapped in the quiet strength of the giant who took its sweet time. As the story of the ground sloth gently closes, you find yourself wrapped in the soft embrace of time itself. The slow, patient heartbeat of this ancient giant echoes quietly within you, a reminder that sometimes, the most profound journeys unfold at their own unhurried pace. Life need not be rushed. There is beauty in taking your time, in savoring each moment as it arrives like a gentle breeze. Imagine the vast plains and forests where the sloth once wandered, places of quiet majesty where shadows lengthened slowly, and the rhythm of life was measured by patience and calm endurance. These worlds may have vanished, but their lessons remain, whispered through the ages like a lullaby meant just for you. As you settle deeper into rest, let your breath slow to match the gentle cadence of those ancient steps. Feel the earth beneath you, steady and unmoving, supporting you with the same steadfastness the giant once knew. Inhale peace, exhale tension, and drift softly toward dreams as vast and unhurried as the Pleistocene itself. Remember, in the quiet moments before sleep, you are connected to the slow dance of life, an endless unfolding that needs no haste, only presence. Tonight, let the ground sloth's sweet time be your own. Good night, and sweet dreams.